Good afternoon and welcome to our daily Plymouth COVID-19 update for the town of Plymouth. This is update number 54 and I'm Steve Triffletti, your Plymouth Town Moderator, and we're going to be here during June each Monday and Thursday at noon for this update. This forum is being brought to you live by PAC TV on Comcast channels 13 and 15 and Verizon channels 43 and 47. You can also watch this on PAC TV's streaming channel by going to pactv.org/live. For questions during today's forum, please email us at plymouthinfo@pactv.org. These forums can also be replayed at pactv.org/Plymouth. Today's participants, including Ken Tavares, Matt Muratore, and me, include Sarah Cloud. She's the Director of Behavioral Health at Beth Israel Deaconess in Plymouth. Also, State Senator Susan Moran, who represents Plymouth and a number of other communities in the area. We also welcome Heather Cosby, Plymouth CPA, Michael Brackman, he is from Congressman Keating's office, Michelle Bratti, she is the Director of Elder Affairs, Amy Naples, she is the Executive Director for the Plymouth Area Chamber of Commerce. And we'll begin today with the Chair of the Board of Selectmen, Kenneth Tavares. Ken, welcome to June. We've been doing this since March, April, May, and now we're into June.
I know. Time flies when you're having fun, isn't it? I just wanted to update the citizens of Plymouth and let you know what will be going on this week. We will be spending, as a Board of Selectmen and the Town Manager's Office, a great deal of time looking at the budgets that has been presented so far. Looking at staffing and seeing how we can possibly bring a few more people back into work. We also had a very detailed letter from the League of Women Voters in regards to voting, with a number of good suggestions and questions that we will be working on this week. Also, I'm going to be calling Representative Muratore, hi Matt.
Hey Ken.
Talk about House 4737, which is in regards to absentee ballots and a new bill that has been presented to the House. It sounds very interesting. And if we could get some of the details, I think it would be extremely helpful. And lastly, I'd like to say welcome to Senator Sue Moran. Sue, it's wonderful to have the chair of the Senator filled again, and we wish you well and look forward to working with you in Plymouth.
Thank you, Mr. Selectman. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenneth Tavares, Chair of the Plymouth Board of Selectmen. And at this time, I would just like to confirm that earlier today, I issued a fourth declaration of recess and continuance of the annual and special town meetings for the town of Plymouth. Under the current statutory framework, the moderator is authorized to continue for up to 30 days. The town meeting was previously scheduled for June 15. However, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is still in a state of emergency, and I have conferred with the chair of the Board of Health, the chair of the Board of Selectmen, and the police chief, which are all requirements under the statute, and I've determined that at this time it is still not appropriate or responsible, in my opinion, to sponsor a gathering such as the town meeting, which would bring together several hundred people, including 135 town meeting members, town officials, and members of the public. There is pending legislation in the legislature for a virtual town meeting, and although some communities are moving forward with a town meeting, in my opinion, I am unable to assure the good health and safety of all who would be participating if we were to move forward at this time. So it is being continued again until July. The legislature has seen fit to give us a statutory scheme wherein the selectmen can deal with the budget on a 1/12 basis, and you'll be hearing more about this in the future. At this time, we're going to continue with our health segment. We welcome back Sarah Cloud, who is the Director of Behavioral Health and Social Work at Beth Israel Deaconess in Plymouth. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So I wanted to talk for a moment about graduation. The much anticipated start of summer is here, and this year, as the season changes, only nature remains predictable. The ongoing coronavirus pandemic continues to disrupt our lives and cancel plans across the world. So as our attention turns to the graduates who have worked very hard to complete their programs, their loved ones have also worked very hard. And we've done a lot of supporting and encouraging as parents, sometimes worrying and other times setting loving limits and hard deadlines. But regardless of how we did it, we've made it to the finish line. And regardless, are going to go ahead and graduate, regardless of what the tradition may look like. So traditional graduate celebrations will be missed and should be mourned. Your feelings really matter when it comes to this. It is completely normal to feel sad and disappointed for both yourself and our graduates. So I want to encourage and support you in tuning into your emotional well-being and reaching out to your support system to work through your feelings. And while the rules of the game may have changed, milestones of life can't be stopped by the pandemic. So I just wanted to wrap up with a couple of words of encouragement for celebrating life's precious moments. So even if an event may be canceled or altered, the accomplishment is not. If your event is canceled celebrating an important milestone such as graduation, you should still be very proud of yourself and your loved one. It is an amazing achievement. Find another way to get excited again. So the anticipation leading up to a big celebration is half the fun. So create a countdown, maybe incorporate photos of the countdown and post it, share it to social media. Have other people join in celebrating in the anticipation as well. And lastly, explore creative ways to celebrate. Drive-bys, car parades, and virtual celebrations have become increasingly popular to celebrate milestones while still maintaining physical distancing and staying healthy. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's Sarah Cloud. She's Director of Behavioral Health at Beth Israel Deaconess in Plymouth. And now, as Selectman Chair Ken Tavares did mention, we're delighted to welcome our newly elected state senator, Susan Moran. Susan, welcome. Thank you for being with us. We're here to talk about how the Plymouth community can respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. And what do you have as thoughts for how you're going to be helpful to us as our newly elected state senator?
Thank you very much. First of all, I must say I have been following this forum, and it's a tremendous resource to get information to the community. One of the things that our district needs is, information on everything COVID, whether it's financial or health oriented. And I have an office in Plymouth. It is the same office that Senator DiMacedo had, so you can find me there just the way you did him. We're prioritizing constituent services. Monica Mullen is the director of constituent services, and we're already up and running. We've gotten some position statements out. We at this point have been looking at the governor's guidelines. He's put out phase 2 guidelines, which will begin on June 6th with respect to safety standards for restaurants and operators of lodgings. And we're happy to be a resource if anyone has questions.
Thank you. And that's Susan Moran. She is our newly elected state senator for Plymouth, and she and the other members of the panel will be available today to answer your questions. You can email us at plymouthinfo@pactv.org. And we're welcoming once again Michelle Bratti. Michelle is the Director of Elder Affairs for the town of Plymouth. Welcome, Michelle.
Hi, Steve. Thank you, as always, for having me, and hello to everyone on the panel. Just a few things today, just wanted to talk about. As Ken had started to mention, please remember to vote. June 20th is our local town election seats. We encourage you to let your voice be heard. For those in the at-risk population, we encourage you to cast your vote by requesting an absentee ballot through the mail. There certainly may be forthcoming or different information in regards to that, but for right now, we know you can find the application online at www.plymouth.ma.gov, or you can call the town clerk's office for more information on that. Also, please help our town come out on top in the 2020 Census Challenge. Plymouth is in a disappointing 6th place out of 8 local towns, with only 63.8% of our town completing the census thus far. We need to do better, as this affects supportive funding for the next 10 years. Please fill out your census form or call 1-800-923-8282 to help, if you need help. 2 other quick things that I'm working on specifically for seniors that I'm really looking for senior help on. Senior advice for seniors. Cal is asking our senior community to submit pictures or writings for us to use on social media, Constant Contact, and on PAC TV even, with your best advice to give to the graduating class of 2020. From Cal seniors to graduating seniors, what piece of advice would you give the class of 2020 as they enter adulthood, especially in these unprecedented times and trying times? Get creative. Make a sign, video, or any kind of story you feel would connect. I think these kids would love to hear from you. You have life experiences, and I think the 2 groups, seniors and seniors, have a lot to offer each other. So I'm working on that, and I want people to submit that to me at Cal. You can call us for my email, but it's mbratty@townhall.plymouth.ma.us. Second, there's another special project that I'm actually asking seniors to volunteer for. This pandemic has certainly changed all of our lives in so many ways. It is our job and responsibility, and I feel it's my job and responsibility at the Center for Active Living to ensure that our patrons and the seniors in this town's needs are met. That is and always will be our priority. On the flip side of that, however, as seniors, your experiences, wisdom, and resiliency are gifts that all of us could use at this time. And I firmly believe that our community needs to hear your voice. I would love to have a panel of guests with me on a Zoom show done from your home, your living room, just like this forum. You don't have to leave your home. But I want it to be aired on PAC TV or other media outlets that offers your advice on how best to cope with the stress of this pandemic. I've said it many times before, and I will continue to say it. You, as seniors, have all lived through so many difficult times and could really offer some insight from those experiences that may help other generations, myself included, navigate this challenging time. Please call me directly if you're interested in starting your television career with me. 508-830-4230, extension 102. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Michelle Bratti. She's the Director of Elder Affairs. Please send her your questions to PlymouthInfo@pactv.org. And now we're being joined by Michael Jackman. He is on staff with Congressman Bill Keating's office. Whoa, boy, got to get used to June. Welcome, Mike.
Thanks. I thank Steve for that introduction. I didn't realize, well, no comment on that. I just want to take a moment to congratulate Senator Moran and welcome her to today's show and to Plymouth. So excited to hear that you're up and running with an office in Plymouth. We've been very lucky in Congressman Keating's office to have a great state delegation here in Plymouth and all throughout the district. And we're really excited to be working with you and your office and your staff, helping out people in Plymouth and all throughout your senatorial district. I wanted to talk today, we're still getting a lot of calls about the economic impact plan program, and especially the debit cards that people are receiving. We're getting a lot of calls about people who threw the debit card out, didn't realize it was their payment. So the debit card, if you do receive your economic impact payment through that method, it's going to arrive in a plain envelope. The return address on the envelope will say Money Network Cardholder Services. It's very nondescript, plain looking. It might look like a credit card offer. It might look like some junk mail you would normally get, but it's not. It is your debit card. It is your economic impact payment. So you don't want to throw it out. You want to take a look at it, read the information on there. There's a website you can go to get more information about the card. It's www.eipcard.com. It'll tell you what you can do. You can get cash from ATMs. You can do purchases online wherever a Visa is accepted. The card itself will have the Visa logo on it, and on the back it will say Meta Bank. Meta Bank is the issuing bank. So watch out for that. If you do discard your economic impact payment debit card, you can go to that EIP card website, and there's a phone number that you can access. It's 1-800-240-8100. You will need to give your social security number. You might need some information from that letter. So try to avoid that as best you can. But if you do discard the card, you can get a second card issued to you. It might be a little bit involved of a process. Also, the IRS wants you to watch out for scams. There are always scams out there, and there have been some scams around the economic impact payment. The IRS will never send you an unsolicited electronic communication by text or email. It will never ask you to open an attachment or to visit a website or to share personal information. So do watch out for those scams. One other thing I want to say, it's also IRS related, is regarding refunds. I've said this on past shows, but I think it's important to emphasize that if you have not filed yet, and of course the deadline for filing your 2019 tax return has been extended to July 15th. If you have not filed yet, I strongly urge you to file electronically. Paper returns are not being responded to or processed at this time because the service centers are just not fully staffed. So the paper returns will be the last to get processed. So I strongly urge you to file electronically. If you have filed electronically and are waiting for a refund, please contact our office. We can make an inquiry with the Taxpayer Advocate Service to try to find out where your refund is. So those are the two items I wanted to mention today, Steve. And as always, thank you for the opportunity to share this information.
Thank you, Michael Jackman, on staff with Congressman Bill Keating's office. Next, we're joined by Heather Cosby. She's a Plymouth CPA. And Heather, Mike always gives you lots of segues to start. So what do you have for us today?
Yes, well, thank you. First, in addition to all the panelists, I just want to point out I'm so impressed by the panelists of women from all different sectors that are here, and you know, Senator Moran as well. This is just today. This was special for me to see. I think it's great for our town to also, you know, showcase all the strong women in town. So personally, I appreciate that. But yes, Mr. Jackman always gets me set up. It's great. This works really well. We should have a show afterwards. This is great. There's not a lot of change that's happened since last week, but I do want to talk about 3 things in the pipeline coming that if you're a business, you should be thinking about. First is, even though they haven't finished this whole first round of stimulus payments, there is they're talking about a second round. You may have heard about this on the news. And the most recent information I have is from Mitch McConnell saying that, yes, they're going to be considering a second round of stimulus and a fourth and final relief package, but they will be making a decision on that in the end of June. So it's nothing that's coming on right now, but it is something you might hear about. There's no information about it. There's been, you know, not a lot of work done towards it, but so the timing of a second round would be the end of June. So stay tuned for that. The other thing is my favorite thing to talk about, which is the Senate Bill 3612, which has to do with the clarification of the expenses related to PPP funds, making those expenses deductible. And I want to report that there is actually an identical bill in the House of Representatives. So this is actually really good news because there has been movement. There's also been co-sponsoring on a bipartisan level happening these last couple of weeks. And so both bills are identical to each other. It appears to be bipartisan. It just is not moving that quickly. And it also is not a part of the third bill I want to talk about, which is the bill just passed by the House last Thursday. So it's not a part of the PPP corrections that they're talking about, but that bill that was passed on Thursday is excellent as far as adding some flexibility. If you're a business that's received these PPP funds, but you've been not able to be in business because your business is not allowed to be open, it's not considered essential, then the problem was you only had 8 weeks to spend that money and get loan forgiveness. So the House passed their bill Thursday. The Senate has a bill that is apparently close to being voted on. The two bills differ in a couple areas, but the three main points of the House bill are instead of 8 weeks, the House has proposed 24 weeks for you to spend your money. The Senate bill is 16 weeks. So I personally believe a big likelihood this is going to pass. It's going to be somewhere in between, of course. The second area of the House bill is that instead of having to spend 75% of your money on payroll, the House bill drops that to 60%. It gives some flexibility for you to spend more money on your fixed costs such as the rent, utilities, things that you have to pay to be in business, but you haven't been able to get your workforce back. The Senate bill holds strong at the 75% rule that's in place right now. And the third area that is actually not been talked about a lot, which I found to be very important, if your part of your bill is not forgivable, and that's fine because it's still really cheap money, instead of it being a 2-year loan repayment period, the House bill that was just passed changes that to a 5-year loan repayment period. And I have no information on the Senate's what they're going to be proposing in their bill. So I don't have a lot to talk about the loan forgiveness process because it's eminently going to be changing. I did provide the resources last week on the SBA.gov website. That is the interim final rule on the loan forgiveness process. But the minute a new law comes into place, they're going to have to rewrite it all. So just know that there's not a lot going on with this now, but there's going to be changes coming. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about, I just wanted to touch on the fact of this area of net operating losses. So the CARES Act gave businesses the ability to take losses they may have incurred and carry them back 5 years to get taxes that you paid in previous years on profits back. This is important because in 2017, the tax reform that happened that changed everything about the tax code that we knew about, that took away the ability for net operating losses to be carried back. You could only carry them forward. So if you're a business that on your return, if you're sole proprietor or incorporation, partnership, whatever you are, and if you have losses on your 2018, 2019, or 2020 tax return, you're going to be able to file amendments to carry those losses back and get refunds on taxes you paid. So that is a huge planning area. I expect there to be a lot of businesses that do have losses this year. So just know that that's something you'll be addressing a year from now, next year after you file your 20 taxes. But know that you could be getting money back, and that may help you try to understand your cash flow and make your business decisions now. So that's everything I have for this week. Thanks.
Thank you, Heather Cosby. She's a Plymouth CPA. She'll be here for your questions, which have been coming in today at plymouthinfo@pactv.org. And at this time, we welcome back Amy Naples, who has been with us on Mondays. Amy is the Executive Director for the Plymouth Area Chamber of Commerce, and she's here for our business segment. Welcome, Amy.
Hi, Steve. Great to see you. Great to see this wonderful panel today. And I loved Heather mentioning all of the dynamic women on here today, a little bit more overpowered by women than men than we typically are. So I agree. It's nice to see these strong women business leaders. I wanted to report that the Plymouth Recovery Task Force is continuing our efforts to assist small businesses with reopening and of course the guidelines from the governor. In addition, the committee is working hard to determine the best option and opportunities for small businesses as we begin to reopen. There's been an awful lot of chatter in regards to street closures, and we know the public is very eager, as well as the businesses, to learn more. However, the committee is doing its due diligence in evaluating all possible options very thoroughly. We've not made any recommendations to the select board because we are working on gaining important feedback from each and every business that will be impacted in the downtown. Although we have talked to many business owners, we need to collect more data and have asked our businesses in the downtown footprint to weigh in on the street closures and possible pedestrian walkways through a survey that we've sent to them. This data and feedback is very important in our decision making, and we really want to provide and present the best options for us, our small businesses, as well as keeping our public safe. All ideas do require a significant amount of funding as well, and we're looking at avenues to pursue those without burdening the businesses for those expenses. We've had many discussions and ideas presented to the task force, and we are going to be completely transparent with all recommendations and reasons behind moving forward. But I did want to communicate that the most important component is how this impacts the small businesses in that area. It may seem like a great idea for some, but it's not one size fits all. So that's why communication with those is really important. But I can assure you the task force is working diligently on this, and we will certainly have more insights soon. In addition, I wanted to mention all restaurants in town who would like to provide outdoor seating must send a proposal to Lisa Johnson at Town Hall, because each restaurant is unique with their requests, and the outdoor seating proposal will require a sketch, number of seats, and a description of the area. And Lisa will review that, as well as reviewing with the Board of Health and Building Department, and make recommendations how you can open and provide that outdoor seating. In addition, the town is still waiting on legislation that is pending to allow alcohol outside of the premises. And then with that being said, the chamber is hosting a Zoom meeting with Karen Keene, Public Health Director, to answer any questions our local business community has in regards to reopening. This interactive discussion will be a Q&A with Karen, which will also include a presentation on what the Board of Health has been working on, the guidelines, enforcement, and of course, an opportunity for each business owner or employee to ask Karen any questions, express any concerns they have. This webinar will take place this Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. And then lastly, I just wanted to mention, I hope you've all seen the Plymouth Strong signs that have been going up around town. There is a wonderful young lady, Brenna Giuliani, in our community who is spearheading this. Brenna is a 9th grade student at Plymouth North High School, and during quarantine, her family started delivering food for the elderly through the CAL, the Center for Active Living, and the South Shore Community Action Council. Brenna learned quickly the number of stops in the community were continuing to grow, and because she feels no one should go hungry, she came up with this initiative to help raise funds to support the Plymouth Food Pantry. So now with her family's support, she has created the Plymouth Strong signs in support of the frontline workers and to show our Plymouth pride. The cost is only $15 for a sign. She will deliver it right to your home. She delivered mine right to my house, and I had the opportunity to meet this sweet girl. All you have to do is send her an email to plymouthstrong@gmail.com, and then you can Venmo Plymouth-Strong to make the donation for your sign. This is an amazing example of a member of our community stepping up to be a leader, and I wanted to recognize her and commend her. So thank you, Brenna. And then lastly, of course, I want to congratulate Sue Moran. I look forward to working with you and continuing to work with Monica Mullen. And that is our business update for today, Steve.
Amy Naples is the Executive Director for the Plymouth Area Chamber of Commerce. She and all the members of our panel will be with us for the questions that have been coming in to PlymouthInfo@pactv.org. And at this time, we're going to be going to our daily state update from Plymouth State Representative Matthew Muratore. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, good afternoon, Steve. Hope you had a good weekend. Amy, thank you for sharing that story. That's a great story. I've been watching that on social media, and we get some great students in this community, and it's just a wonderful school system. So it's great to actually see. I also want to thank Heather for bringing out, and Amy bringing out, that this is a panelist of a lot of women, and I feel comfortable in this setting, as we talked off air, being at home with 7 women all the time. So the more women on a show, the better for me, as far as I'm concerned. So I appreciate that. And I also want to publicly thank Senator Moran. Congratulations on her victory, and welcome her to the Plymouth team. I think you're going to really appreciate the Plymouth community, Senator Moran, for what we all do. We come together in good times and bad times, but we stick together, and we stick together strong. So,
and thanks for that kind welcome. Appreciate
it.
it.
Welcome to the team. So let me, as Amy was talking about, we are in phase 1 of opening the economy at this point. Phase 2, as you all know, Senator Moran brought out, and the governor announced on Friday that phase 2 announcement came out on Friday, which talks about lodging, it talks about restaurants, it talks about retail, it talks about additional personal services such as nail salons and day spa, but there is not a date yet. The governor will announce that later this week. I'm pretty confident, though, it will be a week from today that we should be able to open up phase 2, which is called the cautious phase. And remember, this is all based on data, not dates. The data is looking good. When you look at the last 4 days, the percentage of positive tests to tests was less than 7%. It was 6.75%. Which is wonderful, because it was averaging closer to 8 to 9%. So in the last 4 days, we had 40,709 tests done. So we're now up to almost 600,000 tests. We're at 592,853 tests in the Commonwealth. That's 8.5% of the population has been tested so far. With regard to the number of positive tests, we're approaching the 100,000 mark. We're at 96,965 at this point. A week ago, the testing, the positive tests were at 8.4%. So we're now down to 6.75. So they are going in the right direction. The deaths, continue, unfortunately. We are now up to 6,846 deaths. So we had almost 300 deaths in the last 4 days as well. In Plymouth County, we are up to 7,859 confirmed cases. That's up 203 in the last 4 days. And the number of deaths have increased as well to 552 deaths. And in the town of Plymouth, the Plymouth community has 529 confirmed cases of COVID-19, with 52 deaths at this point. When you start looking at the 7-day weighted average, Steve, we're actually now down to 7.1% for positive tests. So that's a really good sign. Again, back on April 23rd, we were close to 24%. So again, good, another good sign. The 3-day average for the COVID-19 patients in hospital, that's dropped. That's a minus 47% at this point. In the hospital at this point, we have for COVID-19 patients in the Commonwealth, we have 1,824 patients in the hospital. That's down 308 from last Thursday when we were here, from 2032 to 1824 now. And the ICU in the Commonwealth, beds that are full are now at 436, and 4 days ago they were at 576, so that's down 140 beds. The hospital surge capacity, that's dropped tremendously as well. That's down minus 67%. So there are actually only 7 hospitals in the Commonwealth that are using surge capacity in their hospitals. So that's another great sign. And the 3-day average of COVID-19 deaths, even though we're still seeing deaths, the 3-day average has dropped minus 64%. So we are seeing some good signs. BID Plymouth still has 54 confirmed or confirmed cases of COVID-19 or suspected cases of COVID-19, with 7 of those in the ICU. In long-term care, we still talk about that. In my opinion, that's probably the worst hit area in the whole country, has been our senior population in long-term care facilities. There has been 21,127 confirmed cases in long-term care facilities in the Commonwealth. That includes residents as well as staff. And that's at least one case in 349 long-term care facilities. And we have 382 in the Commonwealth of just long-term care nursing facilities. There's been 61% of the overall deaths have come from long-term care facilities at 4,257. So that unfortunately is still happening. And, again, we talk silver linings a lot, and I think we're going to see a lot more reform. I saw Congressman Kennedy has proposed some legislation on the federal level for reforms for nursing homes coming up. So we look forward to reforms in the Commonwealth as well as on the federal level as well. Also wanted to bring up, this has come up in the past, Steve, the bottle bill. This didn't get much attention the other day, but I did want to let people know that a lot of people like to recycle the bottles and the cans, and that will commence on this week, June 5th, with machines only. So if you go to a place that has machines, you can do that. Obviously, whenever anything opens up, it's social distancing, it's physical distancing, it's wearing masks, etc. So that will be this Friday, June 5th, that will open up. And then on June 19th, over the counter, so places that actually you can go into and bring your cans and bottles to will open up on June 19th. So I thought that was important as well. And I do want to also thank Congressman Keating for his work that he's done with the PPP, the payroll protection that Heather was talking about. We get a lot of calls from businesses that haven't been able to open yet, as Heather has said, and it just didn't make sense. Just with 8 weeks coming up, a lot of people got their money mid to late April, and that's coming up, in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, and they're not able to spend that money yet. So we thank Congressman Keating for what he's done on the House side, and I'm confident as too, Heather, that the Senate side will actually come up with a compromise and get this through for people, because there's so many businesses that are affected by it. So thank you to Congressman Keating for that. And that is the update for today, Steve.
Thank you. And that is Plymouth Representative Matthew Muratore. He'll be here to answer your questions. Email us at plymouthinfo@pactv.org. We're going to go right to the first question because the lead-in to Thursday's lineup. And the question from James is, are there plans to hold candidates night before we all mail in our absentee ballots for the town election? And we anticipated that as we planned our forums for this week. And on Thursday, we're bringing back Town Clerk Lawrence Pizer, who will be talking about the upcoming election, along with Martha Votrain. She is with the Plymouth Area League of Women Voters, and she is on their Voter Service Committee. And they will be here to assist us in the discussion about the upcoming election. Meanwhile, we can tell James that PAC TV is planning to make available candidate statements for all people running for contested positions, and an enhanced candidate statement with question and answers for those running for the Board of Selectmen. Also, WATD is holding a candidates night on June 15th in the evening, and I had communication with them late last week as we were planning to continue town meeting in order that it would not conflict with WATD's planned forum. On Thursday, we'll also be joined by Dr. Philip Triffletti, an attending primary care physician at Beth Israel Deaconess in Boston. Also, we bring back our epidemiologist, Dr. Mark Wilson, from the University of Michigan Department of Epidemiology. In addition, Robert Eisenstein, a senior living consultant, will be joining us, and Stephen Cole, the executive director of the Plymouth Regional Economic Development Foundation. We're now going to go directly to the questions that we have before us today. The first question is for Selectman Chair Kenneth Tavares. And Karen writes that she's wondering what's going to happen with dump and beach stickers as they'll expire soon. And will the town offices be open during phase 2 so we may purchase new ones before they expire?
Thank you for the question. On Friday, I spoke to the finance director. She is working on an automated plan 4 beach stickers and dump stickers, everything to be done online. They ran into a few glitches. So I hope that by the end of this week, we'll have a program that's up and running, or at least a good, strong update. It is also undetermined at this time whether the town hall will be open during phase 2 or the beginning of phase 2. But the town manager, in a discussion today, is looking at bringing additional staff back in if possible and under the guidelines. So I hope that by Friday we will have stickers that can be purchased. And I just want to remind everyone that if we have a sticker, it is actually good through the end of this month.
Thank you, Kenneth Tavares, the chair of the Plymouth Board of Selectmen. Send your questions to plymouthinfo@pactv.org. We're next going to go to Sarah Cloud, Director of Behavioral Health and Social Work, Beth Israel Deaconess. Sarah, a viewer writes that there have been a number of protests in the news, and last night, unfortunately, we saw clashes close to us in Boston. And we know that these demonstrations are primarily due to the events in Minneapolis last week. But what, if any, involvement do you think is the coronavirus and the COVID-19 protocols playing into the frustration and anger and upset that is being displayed to us in these protests that are occurring nationwide?
That's a really great question. And I do think that the stress that everybody is under and the frustrations really do end up layering on top of each other and does raise the temperature, so to speak, which has these type of outcomes of aggression and violence and, kind of what we're seeing across the country right now. And I think it's a really great reminder that we need to all kind of take a deep breath and really work on checking our emotions. I also think there's a lot of frustration and challenges with separating what is a peaceful protesters and very legit with what's kind of coming up behind it and using it as a camouflage for other objectives. So I think being able to kind of separate that out and remember to stay really grounded and looking after each other is really important. So it's a great question.
Thank you, Sarah Cloud, Director of Behavioral Health. Beth Israel Deaconess. We're going to go back to State Senator Susan Moran. Susan, Russell writes, in light of a possible second wave for COVID-19, what is going to be done or proposed to create vote by mail for the September primary and the November presidential election?
Thank you, Stephen, and thanks to the person who's asked the question. A lot of people are wondering. So right now, the Elections Committee is meeting and looking at various options for voting absentee and for just a safe and streamlined process so that everyone will have an opportunity to vote. They've been listening to a lot of feedback from the clerks who have really done yeoman's work in the Senate election that I was recently elected at. And those were experiences that will inform the Senate committee that's currently reviewing the questions. So I know also the Secretary of State is putting in suggestions himself and is very anxious to have the new process move forward so that if there are items that need to be purchased or changes in terms of staff jobs and volunteer jobs for the precincts in each of the communities, that will be able to happen, as well as training in time for the next election. So thank you for that question.
Thank you, Susan Moran, State Senator for Plymouth. This time we're going to go to Amy Naples, Executive Director, Plymouth Area Chamber of Commerce. Amy, a viewer, Jan, asks, has any thought been given to creating more space for pedestrians and outdoor dining on Water Street, Main Street, and Court Street?
Yes, there has. There certainly has. So we have been identifying all different parts of town where we could possibly have some outdoor dining where people could potentially, we could put picnic tables or move areas that would be socially distanced. Certainly, we have a number of items that we are identifying. Of course, public safety is the number one priority. And then we will be making those recommendations to the Board of Selectmen. But certainly, we have identified all of those. In regards to pedestrian walkways and things like that, expansion of the sidewalks into the parking areas are a potential possibility as well.
Thank you. Amy Naples, Executive Director, Plymouth Area Chamber of Commerce. We're going to go to Matt Muratore, our state representative. And Matt, Bob writes, what are the latest regulations for auto registrations, inspection stickers, and is the registry mailing out renewal notices for registrations?
The answer on the mailing renewal is yes. You'll receive those in the mail. I think on last Wednesday's show we talked about this, where the Registry of Motor Vehicles announced that if you had plate registrations or inspection stickers that were due in March, that's been moved to June now. If you were in April, that was moved to July, and if you were in May, that will now be August. So everything has been moved out 90 days.
Thank you, Matthew Muratore. And at this time, we're going to go back to our panel for a closing statement. And we're going to begin with Sarah Cloud. Sarah, what would be a good takeaway from today's presentation?
Yeah, I'd like to wrap up with the wise words of Nelson Mandela. He says, remember to celebrate milestones as you prepare for the road ahead. So from there, traditional celebrations may be canceled or altered this year, but accomplishments are not. It's time to be creative in our celebrations. Michelle's Seniors to Senior Messages project that she talked about earlier in the show is a really great example on how this year will be very special. So congratulations, class of 2020. We are especially proud of you.
Thank you, Sarah Cloud, Director of Behavioral Health, Social Work, Beth Israel Deaconess in Plymouth. State Senator Susan Moran. Sue, your first day with us. Again, congratulations. We're so happy to be well represented in Plymouth by you as the new state senator. What do you want viewers to remember today about you in your response to COVID-19?
Sure. Well, thank you, Steve. This is, again, thanks for the forum and for everyone on the panel. I think this is a time where we are starting to try to open up so that businesses can get back online. And I think the main takeaway is for our year-round community, as well as the visitors that we highly depend on in our tourism economy. Social distancing is key. And above all, patience. I think that as we learn the reopening requirements, they're not going to be perfect, but we're going to work on them until we make them as accommodating as possible. So if everyone can kind of help each other out, that'll be the best thing.
Thank you, State Senator Susan Moran. Michelle Bratti, Director of Elder Affairs in the town of Plymouth. We still want to remember and help out our seniors.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do, Steve. And as I'm saying today, they certainly have a lot to offer that they can help us as well. And we're looking to bridge that gap. So just in closing, I just want to let people know, in staying with the theme of it's the little things that really do become the big things. We've lived the last 3 months. It's felt like 3 years. I speak for myself. But every day that we are encouraged by creative thinking in opening our business or responding to requests or helping others or kind of paying it forward. That expression existed long before this, but it's so appropriate right now. Almost daily, we at the Center for Active Living, and I'm sure throughout town, we get the most wonderful and thoughtful outpouring of generosity. Whether it be a donation, whether it be a kind word, someone makes a call to say thank you. Someone makes a call to say that someone in this town made a difference for them. Whether it's the Center for Active Living, whether it's our state representatives, whether it's our new senator, welcome. It's a great town. And I think that the daily things that are happening that seem like the little things are really carrying all of us to be the bigger things. So yes, we will take care of seniors. That is without question. We do that on the daily. They take care of us as well. And we take care of each other in this town and community. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle Bratti. She's the Director of Elder Affairs. We're going to go back to Michael Jackman. He is the District Director for Congressman Bill Keating's office. Mike. And if you can unmute yourself, Mike, we'll go ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah,
Can you hear me? Okay, great.
we can.
Thank you, and thank you as always to PAC TV for having me on to talk about the federal programs. I want to thank Representative Muratore for that news about the cans and bottles. That's very welcome news. In my little household here, I have a big bag of cans that I have to crawl over to get to my Cheerios in the morning. So I'll be the first one in line on Friday, I think. I'm always glad to be on, especially with Heather. And I'm glad Heather goes after me because she explains the things that I say. And a lot of times when I hear from Heather, it makes a lot more sense than when I hear from other sources. So thank you to Heather. And Michelle mentioned the census. I think it's really important. Plymouth is a great town, and we have a lot of great programs and a lot of great things happening here. But the census is really the key to making sure that in a lot of ways we can continue those programs and those activities, because a lot of the federal funding that comes down to the communities is based on the census. It's based on the population of people that are annotated by the census. As Michelle noted, Plymouth is 7th out of the 8 towns in the League of Women Voters competition. But a part of that is because significant parts of Plymouth are in what they call update leave tracts, census tracts, where because they don't have either they have a PO box or a non-deliverable mail address, they were not able to be sent a census card that a lot of people got back in March, as I did, and I was able to fill my census out right away. But those folks will be getting this week and next week what they call update leave packages. It's basically a little plastic bag left on your doorknob that includes a dedicated census ID number that folks can use to respond to the census. So if you're in Plymouth and you have not received a mailing yet, look out for that card. You can always go to 2020census.gov to get more information about how you can file, or you can call the number 844-330-2200 to find out more about how you can do the census on over the phone as well. So it's very important that people pay attention to the census and respond, because it's going to mean good things for our community. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Michael Jackman, District Director, Congressman Bill Keating's office. Heather Cosby, Plymouth CPA, what would be a takeaway from today's program?
Well, thank you, Steve, and thank you everybody on the panel. And Mike, thank you for your kind words. We're a great team. You're like my little Zoom husband. It works out great. You know, I have to just say that I've said this before. Businesses are, you know, you have the health crisis, which is, you know, unbelievable. But being a small business owner in the middle of this is an absolute, it's an anxiety levels like you can't even explain. There's going to be 2 to 3 more law changes coming out in the next month. So, know they're coming. It's going to greatly impact this whole PPP issue with, you know, how much taxable income are you going to have this year, and so hopefully our lawmakers will continue to make strides to get this corrected in the best way for all the taxpayers. So I think I said this early on in one of my first shows: take a breath, count to 10, and keep going. It is just daunting, the what small business owners have to go through. And you know, this is a great forum. Steve, I actually think you're onto something, and somehow we should continue this year round. So, you know, thank you for everything that you guys do all the time to get this going.
Thank you, Heather Cosby. She is a Plymouth CPA. Again, a lead-in to Amy Naples. Amy, Heather talks about all that small business owners have to face now during COVID-19. What do you have to say to them as we close today?
Heather is absolutely right. This has been an absolute nightmare for small businesses. I feel for them. I think this platform provides great opportunity for small businesses to learn, and we have such amazing resources like Heather, Matt, Mike, Ken, Michelle, everybody working together. So it's been such a great opportunity. But in the theme of graduation, of course, I just wanted to mention I think everyone knows that Plymouth North and South is graduating on Saturday on our beautiful Plymouth waterfront. And I would like to encourage all the businesses along Water Street and downtown to decorate their storefront for our graduates. I think our residents should join in on the fun as well, putting out a sign, whatever it may be. This is certainly not a normal graduation, but as a community, we need to show our support to those young adults and celebrate them. In addition, of course, my plea to support small businesses, we have a number of wonderful retailers who have great graduation gifts. They offer curbside pickup and have awesome items that you can view on their social media platforms, as well as their website that you can browse through those to purchase some graduation gifts. And of course, with any celebration, we want food, right? So we have a number of wonderful restaurants providing great graduation packages, platters, party platters. So great, delicious options for families to be celebrating their graduates at home. Feel free to visit the Chamber's website at plymouthchamber.com, and you can always reach out to me. I'm happy to help assist with anything. Again, you can call the office at 508-830-1620, or certainly send me an email at amy@plymouthchamber.com. And thank you for having me.
Thank you, Amy Naples, Executive Director, Plymouth Area Chamber of Commerce. And each day we close with a closing statement at the state level from Plymouth Representative Matthew Muratore. Matt?
Yeah, thanks, Steve, and thanks to all our panelists today. Great input as usual, and I agree. I think we're on to something here that as times get better, it's always good to still give good communication out to people. So it may be a good way to do that down the road to look at that. I still want to remind people that we're in phase one of reopening, which is great. The numbers are looking really good as well, but we still need to continue to stay informed. Go to mass.gov/COVID-19 if you have looking for most up-to-date information. If you have questions, call 211. If you want to get text alerts, go to COVID MA, text COVID MA to 888-777, or in Spanish, COVID MA ESP to 888-777. Or if you have questions on your health, go to bowie.com/mass. As we continue to go through the next phase that's coming up, and I believe again it'll be on Monday that will happen. Senator Moran is correct. We need to be patient. Be calm. Again, stay informed. Be calm, and stay safe when you're out there. If you're out there, continue to heed the advice of wearing masks, physical distancing. This is how the numbers actually will continue to go down, and this is how we're going to dictate how we open up the rest of the economy. If for some reason we go backwards in these numbers because we're not wearing masks or we're not physical distancing, then that would be the worst thing we can do is go backwards. So we want to continue to go forward, continue doing what you're doing. Everyone has a role in this. So let's continue coming together by staying apart. And we'll talk to you again on Thursday, Steve.
Thank you, Plymouth Representative Matthew Muratore. Thank you to all the members of today's panel, including Sarah Cloud, State Senator Susan Moran, Michelle Bratti, also Michael Jackman, Heather Cosby, Amy Naples. And at this time, we circle back to the chair of the Plymouth Board of Selectmen, where we started, Ken Tavares.
Thank you, Steve. On Saturday, we picked up our Plymouth Strong sign, and it is being very prominently displayed on our front lawn. And I think sometimes when the going gets rough, it's the youth of the community that can give us optimism. And by having that sign that a freshman designed and with her family had reproduced, speaks for this community very, very highly. And I thank them for what they have done this past week. And I know the signs are still for sale. Also, I'd like to say to the community that, the issues that are coming up are very complex. And Amy, I think, framed it very well today when she talked about gathering information. So many times when a question is asked, there isn't an immediate response because dealing with this virus has been complicated, and issues are deep, and it takes a while to get the right information to supply the decision makers with the information that they need. So again, as it was brought up by a couple of other speakers, I just ask for your patience as we go through it, and to follow the lead of a freshman student from Plymouth North, Plymouth Strong, and I'll add to it, we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenneth Tavares, Chair of the Plymouth Board of Selectmen. Please join us this Thursday when we welcome primary care physician Dr. Philip Triffletti, epidemiologist Dr. Mark Wilson, Martha Votrain, Voter Service, League of Women Voters, Lawrence Pizer, our town clerk, Robert Eisenstein, Senior Living Consultant, Stephen Cole, Executive Director, Plymouth Regional Economic Development Foundation. They'll all be joining Ken, Matt, and me on Thursday at noon. I'm Steve Triffletti, Plymouth Town Moderator. Thank you for joining us. Good day.